And now we'll start with track number 1. The topic is sustainable infrastructure and rebuilding. It's going to be moderated by Dr. Mariette Awad. So please help me welcome Dr. Mariette Awad on stage.
Every bridge we build, we use right material. We have bridges, grids, pipeline. We reconstruct them after crisis. So this is not only a matter of reconstruction, it's just a decision of how intelligence itself should be embedded in our physical world. So rebuild should no longer be just enough like the way we do it. Many parts of the world, including Lebanon, they rebuild, which means we are repairing, fixing what broke, restoring what once worked. But sustainability asks a harder question. What must we design differently so that the same failure doesn't happen again, which is a bit tricky. To answer that, we must stop treating infrastructure as hardware and start treating it really as a continuous data ecosystem. The pipes, they leak, the roads, they erode, the grids sometimes get overloaded, but each of these systems, they do speak before they break. And this is where sensors, usage logs, satellite feeds, they constantly emit signal. Yet data science is here to interpret them. These signals, without data science, are simply noise. So the new infrastructure of the new material for infrastructure, I would like you to think about it as being information. Traditional infrastructure was built with steel, maybe concrete, wood, and it took time. Now, modern infrastructures should add an additional dimension, and this is information as material. We can no longer afford to design a road or a water plant without its digital twin, which is basically a data model that evolves as the system operates. These models let us stimulate stress, forecast degradation, and optimize maintenance long before failure can occur. In one sense, data science is turning infrastructure from like a thing you build into a relationship you can manage. Every data set, traffic, pump, pressure, satellite images, all of them, they become really a feedback loop. And feedback is not just funding, it's just what keeps the systems alive. So we have to rebuild with measurement. We have to have the memory embedded in this. For decades, infrastructure success was judged by completion. خلصنا كذا كيلومتر من الأرض. نعمل هالقد ميجاوات. This is not what it should be. Sustainability demands new metrics, one that captures durability, equity, and environmental cost. And data science can provide these metrics. Now, something we have learned that, the tragedies of crisis-driven rebuild is that knowledge most of the time disappears when projects end. A donor funds a system, a consultant builds it, reports it, it's a file somewhere, and the local institution is left with the hardware, but little know-how. Data science, luckily, helps us to change that by creating institutional memory. So let's make it, though, clear. The data is not neutral, it's political. Who owns it? We just heard this morning from the panel of our ministers that there's a lot of challenges. So the data, we heard data is the new oil. Who cleans it? Who decides what's measured and what is ignored? Without fair governance, data can deepen inequality, and that's not what we want. And we need to have the access to infrastructure defining proper citizenship. And then access to data should define then participation. So that's why in every sustainable rebuild, data governance must be treated as a public utility. It should be open, and that's why we jumped on the offer of look at our data. We want the data to be secure and accountable. So in our region, where mistrust between citizens and institutions runs very deep. Transparent data systems can rebuild more than roads. They can rebuild legitimacy. A public dashboard, for example, that tracks reconstruction spending is as much important as in for confidence as a new bridge that will help us in our mobility around town. So I talked about design under the constraint. I want to revisit this concept because in infrastructure, constraint forces us to innovate responsibly. It asks, how do we ensure redundancy without having a lot of waste? How do we design for maintenance, not for lunch? And also here, data science teaches us a lot. We have the predictive models, and our students here, parallel to this, are working on designing under constraint. So this sustainable rebuild cannot be imported. We do have to have it. The minister, Dr. Shahade, mentioned this. We need to have more people literate. More people are well-versed in these languages because we need to train more local engineers and data scientists. We need to build community-owned data sets. We need to ensure interoperability. We cannot just import and keep on importing. So in Lebanon, for example, we have the power distribution, water, and transport. Each of them, they have data, but they are in silos. So hopefully we can someday, break these silos. So ethics should be what really governs. It's something that we should not add after deployment, like a review process. It should be a sustainable infrastructure. It should be woven inside as in ethics. So let me now talk about another paradox, mentioning specifically around sustainability. Sustainability, most of the time when we look for it, we always think about big data. I want to challenge you on this. And I don't want you to think about big data. Instead, I want you to think about relevant data. If it's big, good. But look for relevancy. In fragile contexts, especially in Lebanon, small, high-frequency local data can be far more actionable than vast and global data sets. We must therefore design for data sufficiency and not data excess. We should look for quality over quantity. We should look for meaning over magnitude. What we rebuild during crisis is visible: bridges, grids, pipelines. What we sustain should be invisible: the trust, the data, and the discipline that keep those systems alive. So I want to close with another statement by Hans Rosling. This time, she reminds us that the world cannot be understood without numbers. But the world cannot be understood with numbers alone.